Back again, another episode
of Division I Rejects. Welcome to the second episode of the week where we are blessing your eyes and or ears, depending on whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on one of the many podcast platforms. Check out the new centerpiece that we've got going on here. A little bit of a helmet action.
Well, what if people are listening? You should describe it for them, Kobe.
I will describe it. We've got a nice cherry red on the face mask, joined with a stripe going down the symmetrical center of the helmet, along with the Division I Rejects logo on the side with a matte black finish over the entire helmet.
Blood, sweat, and tears put into that.
It was. A lot of hair pulled out on my end. Did a little spray paint job. Pretty happy with how it turned out. If you're not checking it out on YouTube, then you'll check out a picture of it that we'll post on our Twitter. There's a plug at D1_Rejects. Follow us on Twitter if you want to check that out and you're just listening to the pod. But today, we also got another big new, it's not really new, we've done it the last 2 weeks, but I did want to announce it on here. We have timestamps, and you might think, what the hell are timestamps?
What are timestamps?
Look in the description of the video on YouTube if you are watching on YouTube. If not, listening is just as great. But if you're watching on YouTube, simply click through that red bar on the bottom of the video to scroll through, and you will quickly get to the part of the conversation that you want to hear.
Yes.
So they're all labeled very easily. This way you don't have to watch through and sift through an hour and a half of footage to get to the one segment that you want to hear or the one segment that you saw on Twitter. So go there and check it out. I've put in a little bit of work with that after every episode, and I would really appreciate it if you check that out.
You really be putting in that work?
I really do be putting that work. Today, though, great episode, a lot of great conversation. Our second episode of the week, so we'll see how this goes. But starting it off strong with the safety from Indiana State University, who will be joining us here in just a minute. But after we talk with CJ, name drop, after we talk with CJ, we will be getting into, once again, Christain McCaffery and how he suffered yet another injury to potentially keep him sidelined. Hunter will go on his tirade again about CMC. And after that, we'll get into the NFC East and how they're heating up at just the right time. 2 big wins, Washington football team over the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Giants over the Seahawks, correct? Who are 8-4 still. 2 big wins for the NFC East, and maybe that division isn't as much of a joke as we once thought.
Maybe the 2 teams get in.
Exactly. That's not happening. You're going to get 1, but 2 would definitely be a stretch. We'll get into that. But shifting over to the college football side of things, how the Big Ten is making sure that Ohio State makes it to the conference championship, with that being their new rule that was released, yesterday? I believe that was on Wednesday. We're recording this on Thursday. So big-time news from the Big Ten and how they're making sure Ohio State makes it into that college football playoff. Potentially if they beat Northwestern in the championship. But otherwise, per usual, we're chilling in the basement, talking some football. Let's get right into some great conversation. Joining us today on Division I Rejects is a redshirt sophomore defensive back from the Indiana State Sycamores in the Missouri Valley Conference, a Chicago native. It's CJ Rutherford. What's going on, CJ? How are you?
Yes, sir. What's up, my guy? I'm pretty good. How about you?
Not a whole lot, man. I'm living it up. I'm super excited to have you on today. We have not had any representation from the Missouri Valley Conference. I know I visited a few of those. Is Eastern Kentucky in the MVC?
Eastern Kentucky is in the Ohio Valley Conference.
Oh, they're Ohio Valley. I'm getting my valleys mixed up over here. That's on me.
Bunch of valleys.
That's on me. But as far as your team is concerned, I saw you guys canceled the fall season back in August, as did so many other leagues. But there were a few teams in your league that actually played some games. They weren't conference games, but they were out of conference. North Dakota State had a win on the season, and Missouri State has lost all 3 games that they've played, one of which was actually to Oklahoma, guys, which was nuts for me to see. But I'm assuming that was up to the individual schools to schedule those games in the fall if they wanted to out of conference. How much do you know about that?
I think that was definitely up to them, up to the team. Not sure how they went about scheduling those games. I think obviously they went with other FCS teams that planned on playing in the fall.
Yeah.
I know we had a team meeting early on just to talk about the pros and the cons of having a fall season, and we just decided it was best to just take the fall off just to practice, train and get a little stronger, a little faster, and get ready for this spring season coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, especially if you're Missouri State, They scheduled Central Arkansas twice.
Yeah.
And they lost twice, and then they had to strap it up against Oklahoma. You imagine, coming off of, a quarantine where you're not playing football and you're not strapping up the pads every day, and you're going to go out in the field and play against, that's Rattler, right, the QB?
Yep.
You're going to go play against one of the top 10 teams in the country. What would that be like?
Yeah, I think that'd be tough.
That would be tough.
Challenges. That was definitely one of the challenges that we had talked about, just not having as many teams in the FCS that will be available to play.
Yeah.
And just having to pick up more possible FBS games, maybe even Division II teams that they were playing. But that was definitely one of the main things that we talked about. And I couldn't even imagine having to come out and face Oklahoma, a team that has been preparing for that. And, you just coming off of winter break, just trying to figure out when you guys are going to play, if you guys are going to even play, and then having to come out and play a team like Oklahoma will be pretty tough. Yeah,
guys, nice to have you on campus. The Sooners are coming in on Saturday, so we'll be ready. But I was looking through the conference website and some other things, and I saw a countdown to kickoff on your athletic page for Indiana State. So I'm assuming, they released an outline and to try and play in the spring months. I'm assuming that's still holding up to it right now. Is that still the plan?
Yeah. The first game supposedly is going to be February 27th against SIU at SIU.
There you go.
It's going to be a great game. Definitely looking forward to it. So.
Well, you definitely are. You knew the date. You knew the opponent. That's more than I can say for what my spring schedule is going to be.
We have no idea. Yeah.
Want to count down.
Seriously.
All right, CJ, this is Hunter Chambers here. I'd assume this is going to be a big year for you, a redshirt sophomore stepping up into a bigger role for the team this year that average around 5 breakups per game, pass breakups, PBUs.
Yeah.
So the defensive backfield is in decent shape. How do you go about exerting your role this next year, and how do you become one of the guys on that team?
I think the big thing for me was just getting a little more confidence, stepping up into that starting role. I think this fall was a big deal for me, just being able to take those reps with those bigger guys that have played more football than I have on defense.
Good point.
Actually.
Yeah.
So, it was definitely a big thing to be able to get that confidence and get those reps and just really learn the position and be able to learn the defense and just really be a guy that, younger guys can look up to and just ask questions if they have them and we be able to provide them with the answers. So.
Yeah, that's a mindset you have to have. And like you said, your defensive backfield is in pretty solid shape. Last year, only had 2 games letting up over 250 yards passing, which especially at the Division I level, that's something that we're starting to see more often, especially as we move to that spread air raid type offense that has become so popular. But like you said, you talk about learning from these guys. Imagine I guess if the situations were switched and maybe that was one of the struggling points of your field were those safeties, nickelbacks, corners, whatever it is, that defensive backfield, you think that's got to be a super valuable tool, like you said, to try and learn, not that you don't have any experience in the past, but to just continue to grow. How important has that been for you?
I think whenever you want to be a leader in any position, I think it's really key to learn from the guys that come before you.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate to have some great DBs before me to be able to just learn the game from them, talk football and just be able to pick their brains a little bit. So I think that's definitely important, just being able to, take that information, receive it, and then pass it on to the younger guys. So that's been great for me, just learning from them.
Awesome.
100%. 100%. A question that I had, and this is something I thought of almost immediately because we haven't had too many guys from that safety or defensive back position. We had Isaiah on last week, and I should have asked him this, but you get the question instead. What do you do as a defensive back to train your eyes? This is something that I've thought about a lot because especially when you can't train with a bunch of other guys and you have, a wide receiver or some type of route runner in front of you or a quarterback to read or something like that. What do you do to train your eyes in the offseason to kind of, hone that skill?
I think the biggest thing, you see a lot of guys at the Division I level in the NFL, and a lot of times when they're getting beat by these routes that these receivers run, it's really just about eye control. And that's really been one thing that our defensive coordinator has been preaching since I switched over to the defensive side of the ball is eye control.
Okay.
Because he always says if you watch the quarterback throw it, you're going to watch the receiver catch it. So the main thing is that's the big thing. Yeah. I think the main thing is just being able to, hone in on who you're guarding and just understanding that everybody has their own part to play on the defense. So if you play your part and just watch your guy, then everything's going to work out in the end.
I love that. If you're going to watch him throw it, you're going to watch him catch it. That's perfect. And you're right. No, you're right. You totally see that. And that's not even Division I NFL. You see that at all levels of football. Yeah. If your eyes get stuck in the backfield, that could be any defensive position, linebacker, secondary, whatever. What I want to know is going into this offseason, obviously with a smaller role in this past year, looking to really increase that as you come into this spring season, as you guys have scheduled right now. What is one thing for you? I'm not going to ask you and go and examine all your weaknesses or whatever, but what is one thing for you that coming into this offseason, you were like, you know what, I can really improve in this area, and that's going to raise my stock on the team?
One thing I've really focused on this little off season that we've had was been just making sure I can put on as much weight as possible.
Okay.
Just because throughout the season, you kind of taper off and you can lose weight throughout just because you're practicing all the time. You got class and everything.
Good point.
So you really don't have as much time to train and really get your body right as you would like to. So I've really just been trying to get as much really quarantine and hibernation weight as much as I can.
Yeah, that's the difference
really
between that's the difference between you DBs and me O linemen. I'm trying to lose those pounds. You're trying to gain them pounds.
He has no problem putting on that quarantine weight. No problem at all.
You're trying to drop any, I'd love to take it from you, man.
Hey, I'm offering.
All right, CJ. So I'm Drew. I was the guy eating the Chipotle. I also play DB. So a couple of the guys that I love watching just to like learn stuff off on, especially on YouTube, is Landon Collins and Cam Chancellor. I'm more of like a down type safety. Who are those guys for you? Like, who do you like? If you could pick their brain, who would you pick?
Two of the safeties that I say I watch the most would definitely be Minka Fitzpatrick and Buda Baker. Minka just because I really feel like I kind of match his body type a little bit, and then especially playing in the middle of the field, he's a really rangy guy. He can really cover sideline to sideline if he has to, and that's really who I try to idolize my game after in that sense. And then Buda Baker just because the guy plays 100 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to come up and hit you as hard as he can, and he's not really worried about getting hurt or hurting anybody else. He's just going to come full force every play, and that's the great thing about him.
Yeah, I was about to say,
unless the tackler's name is DK Metcalf, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But that's actually a really good point. I have never really thought about, I guess I should have, but like, I don't think about that too much in the past. When you look at these guys, like, that'd be like me saying, oh, I'm going to go look and model my game after Kamara. Like, right. I mean, you don't know me too well, CJ, but my game is
he's a Peyton Hillis of.
I am a Mike Allstott, Peyton Hillis, but I am no Kamara. So it's like being realistic, like you said, about those guys and like a similar body type, similar skill set. I think that's really super important as far as like what you're going to actually try and model your game after. But let's talk about your team a little bit. Your guys finished, the Sycamores finished 5-7 overall last year. And with what I'm sure was a disappointing 3-5 in conference play against those teams, I'm not sure how much you've been around the team this year as far as everything that's been going on, but what are you guys doing to improve that record heading into the spring season? And really just how often have you been around the guys?
I think the biggest thing last year was that coming off of that 7-4 season we had off of the turnaround, we had a lot of hype around us.
Okay.
And, we just felt like we had a lot of pressure on us to be great and to live up to what everybody was saying. And I think that kind of shook us a little bit. We lost our starting quarterback early on, so we had to change a lot of things just to adapt to the things that we had. This fall has been all about preaching. It's just us. We're the only ones that can shape our destiny. So we just got to lock in and focus on the things that we're coached. And that's really just been the biggest thing. Just really building that camaraderie again. And just trying to make sure we built this team up and just built this culture to what we want it to be. And that's just hard-nosed, blue-collar football and just playing as hard as we can and playing for each other. So.
Hell yeah.
I love that. Culture.
Hell yeah.
Culture's everything.
Culture is everything. And you talked about building up, and it really, even if your coach doesn't get fired or whatever, that doesn't mean it can't be a rebuild. Instilling a culture is something that's super important at any level, especially when you lose a leader on your team, like a starting quarterback. It almost might feel like you're starting from ground zero, at least on the offensive side of the ball. I'm sure defense, wouldn't be nearly as affected. But you talked about controlling your own destiny. And to transition it over to some of our topics we're going to talk about today on the pod, I wanted to talk about Indiana, the college football team, and how, they really controlled their own destiny. They lost, I guess, a really close game, even though it didn't feel like it, to Ohio State. And now I'm sure you saw the ruling that the Big Ten took away that 6-game requirement to go to the Big Ten championship. How would you feel right now if you're Indiana, a player on that team, and you've done almost everything except, outside of beating Ohio State to put yourself in that position in the Big Ten championship? How would that feel?
I mean, that'd be heartbreaking. I've actually got a couple friends who play on the Indiana football team.
Man,
it's been tough hearing their stories. I mean, they're one of 2 teams that have beaten a top 10 team in college football. I think
it's like one of two. Yeah, one of two that have beaten multiple top 15 teams, somewhere around there.
I think the other one's Michigan.
I think the other one is actually Michigan State, if you can believe that.
Oh wow! Oh yeah!
Oh wow! Man. But I mean, looking forward, you talked about how everyone in the locker room is really who has to believe, and how you guys started from that point and kind of just outsourced it from there. But looking at that Big Ten championship game, Ohio State versus Northwestern, it feels like everyone and their mother has already counted out Northwestern, and they're talking about what the chances are of Ohio State getting into the Big Ten the college football playoff, excuse me. I mean, we'll flip it on you. What would it feel like to be inside of that Northwestern locker room, if you know what I mean, to kind of just have that group of guys around you that believe, I would assume so under Pat Fitzgerald, but really nobody outside except maybe your immediate family that thinks, hey, these guys got a shot to win a football game.
Right, and I think that's the great thing is that no one really thinks you have a shot. So it's really like you have nothing to lose. So you might as well just go out there, play for each other. Could be your last game of the season. So just go out there and just have fun and just leave it all out there.
Dude,
I mean, especially when you're playing as an underdog. I mean, that's the best thing about football is that you never know. It's any given Sunday, really, or any given Saturday.
Any given Sunday, man. And that makes the wins so much sweeter when they do happen, doesn't it?
Definitely.
It totally does, man. Well, I appreciate your time. That was an awesome conversation. Definitely going to have you on again if you're up for it. But enjoy an awesome weekend of football, my guy.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
Of course, man. I'll see you. Awesome having CJ on.
Dude, he sounds like a great kid. Hopefully he balls out this year.
Dude, hopefully he does. Talked about with him that, trying to get a bigger role on that team, especially on that defensive side and what he needs to do. He was super open about it too, which I love. And I don't really get too much. You played defensive back, obviously, but I don't get too much as far as the training and aspects of that. I was really interested about the eyes thing. I always think about that.
Yeah, no, the eyes are definitely the biggest thing when it comes to just making sure you're in the right spot, right?
Yeah.
So when the ball's being thrown, obviously, you're looking at hands. And then when the ball hasn't been thrown yet, you're looking at hips.
Hips too, okay, yeah.
You're watching
I've heard
the receiver's
that, yeah.
hips. So your eyes will mislead you sometimes if you put them in the right or wrong spot.
Right place, right time, make a play.
Exactly.
I like that.
I would say outside of O-line, DB is probably
DB is the hardest position in football.
Well, I mean, outside of O-line, of course.
Of course.
Okay.
But we talked to CJ about what he thought about that locker room situation. First of all, with Indiana and how, their AD actually came out and said that he was, quote, like disappointed about the decision, even though he said he understood it. He understood the decision. But you have to be disappointed if you're him, because that would have been something where if you would have made it to a Big Ten championship, we'll talk about them in a minute. They have 2 Big Ten championships wins since 1925. Indiana's program does.
Wow.
I was not aware of that. They've never really been prominent in our lifetime, but they've had a solid team a few years, this being one of them, most notably. That's just got to feel bad, man. But on Wednesday, the Big Ten Conference tweeted out that they had voted to eliminate the game requirement for the Big Ten championship, therefore allowing Ohio State to advance. And they justified it by saying that, okay, even if Ohio State played Michigan this week, and even if they lost, actually, they still would have a better bid at the championship over Indiana. They would have the tiebreaker.
Really?
So that really does make sense.
They beat them?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that makes sense. Now, I was thinking that's a pretty foolproof way of putting it, because then you can't have all these guys, they just want Ohio State to make it to the playoff and represent the Big Ten. But that's a legitimate reason for them to continue to advance.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I can't wait till the day that Ohio State falls.
Right?
There's going to be, Alabama fell last year, and everybody was waiting for that day. They fell last year.
Compared to their regular success?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Compared to the regular success.
That was also because I feel like Tua got hurt.
Once again, they just fell.
They did.
Let's not say they got hurt. Let's not talk about.
They didn't fall off a cliff.
And
they fell down the stairs.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
They got back up.
They got back. Yeah, they're doing all right now.
Mac Jones a baller.
If they lose in the SEC championship, they're still going to be in the playoff. If that doesn't tell you anything about,
Well, how does that impact Ohio State then? Ohio State, I feel like the Big
Ohio
Ten.
State's-
Oh, yeah.
The Big Ten saw this opportunity as, okay, Florida could beat Alabama. They'll still put Alabama in. We need Ohio State to be in the Big Ten championship because we need them in the playoff. Because, let's face it, the Pac-12 and Big 12 right now are seen as afterthoughts.
Yeah.
The last thing the Big Ten wanted to be was one of them.
Yeah.
So they
100%.
they're only
Because
dogging.
there's Power 5, and I use air quotes. If you're not watching, there's Power 5, and then there's Big 10, ACC, SEC.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it is. At least it has been.
And then Oklahoma. It's Oklahoma represents
That's fair.
Big 12.
That's fair. Oklahoma does. That's correct. They're playing Iowa State, correct, in the championship.
That's actually a really good game.
And that will be a solid game, I think. Iowa State's. They
especially
started the season off pretty rocky, I will say.
Yeah.
They started the season. I think their first or second game was a loss to Louisiana.
Yeah, it was.
I think so.
And then they beat Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Beat Oklahoma State.
Yeah. So you were saying this is a joke, whatever. Iowa State's going to the championship. They're gonna get run out of the building.
No, I still think they will.
even though they took him earlier in the season?
I think Oklahoma, if you just watch them in general, not to get off from
I'm not a Spencer Rattler fan.
Either am I.
Neither am I.
I mean,
No, I can't stand him.
you go from Baker to Kyler to Jalen.
That's also part of it. And now you're held up to that. Yeah, that's tough.
But at the
That's
same
tough.
time, what I did not like is the preseason hype where they're like, Spencer's going to be the best one.
Yeah.
Like, that's setting someone up to fail. No matter
4
what.
in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
4 in a row.
No, he would have been 4.
Not Heisman's, but like just great
Heisman
quarterbacks.
finalists.
Yeah,
Heisman
okay, that's
finalists.
fair. That's fair.
Quarterbacks.
Baker,
Jalen. I forgot
yeah.
about Jalen.
Even though he didn't win it, yeah, he had a hell of a year there.
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
And so
Love Jalen.
I think Oklahoma really just represents the Big 12 when it comes to the playoff. But back to Ohio State, they needed to get in for the Big 10's sake of just having, a team in the playoff. And if Florida does beat Alabama, and let's say Ohio State wasn't playing in the Big 10 championship,
Then Florida would have a real bid.
Florida and Alabama would have a better bid than Ohio State
Yeah, 100%.
because they made it to their conference.
What's interesting as well is in that SEC championship game, Mac Jones and Kyle Trask are the 2 Heisman frontrunners right now.
It's going to be a great game.
So really, it's going to be a great game for that, but also for the Heisman conversation because, you could still have a great performance and lose, and I think they'll understand that. But if one quarterback slightly outperforms the other and gets the win, that's most likely going to be the Heisman conversation wrapped
I would say
up
those
in a
two
pretty
guys
bow.
are the Heisman candidates.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
And that game will probably determine.
That's what I'm
and
thinking
also
as
that
well.
game will determine probably who's the 1 seed going into the playoffs.
Well,
whoever
I feel
wins
like
that.
if Florida wins, Notre Dame will be the 1 seed. But
Yeah.
at the same
Oh, yeah.
time, Clemson plays Notre Dame in the ACC championship.
That is a very good
So,
point as well.
another good great, and
Though-
they'll have Trevor Lawrence back.
And
They
so
will.
Clemson could end up being the 1 seed when it's all said and done with a Florida win, and they take care of their own
And we would
business.
not have thought of that just maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago.
No,
At least I
no.
wouldn't have.
And
Clemson's kind of hovered
was-
in that 2 to
yeah,
3,
they
4
were hovering.
range.
because I really feel that Notre Dame's a lock.
Yeah, agreed.
Because
They already have the win over Clemson.
they joined the ACC, and everyone was like, join a conference.
Yeah.
They did. They ran the table,
and it's paying off because
Yep.
now that's a big time for them, and it's nice to have some super meaningful football for these conference championships. I feel like for whatever reason we don't always get that.
It's always either that Alabama always blows someone out in the SEC, other than last year. when
Clemson usually
LSU
blows someone out in the ACC.
ACC is
then
dominated.
Ohio
typically by
State
Clemson.
always-
and Oklahoma wins it every year in the Big 12.
This year will be good. This year's
going to be
good.
great. And I thought it was a great point that somebody made. I was watching Get Up this morning, and shout out to Get Up in Greeny. But somebody
Greeny.
on that show made the point, I thought it was a really good point, that Kyle Trask actually leads Mac Jones in a few statistical categories. But that's almost because he's in the second half throwing a lot more balls than Mac Jones typically is. And Florida cannot rely on, that defense of theirs or their run game. So you take that with a grain of salt, right? Because yes, that means that he's going to have more opportunities to get these big time stats and almost to inflate his stats. But at the same time, opposing defenses aren't going to look at the run game as much, and they can really single in on Trask in that passing game. So when he's able to continue to put up those numbers while he's really one of the only targets you could argue on that offense, that makes him more of a Heisman candidate.
You
than
could
ever.
almost put it as the Heisman candidate as Trask is more valuable to his team.
Yeah,
than
if it
Mac
were an
Jones. Like if
MVP,
Mac Jones
yeah.
got hurt, was down for a game, they'd run with Najee Harris, and they'd probably have a 5-star back.
That's what I think the difference
he is. A
is.
5-star. It's Bryce Young. He just
backup?
he just came in. He was
course
a
he
5-star.
Of course, all those big
He's
schools have
number
5-star
one. Number
backups.
one.
That is unreal.
Number one
Okay.
recruit.
I did not know that
exactly.
either.
That's what I'm
I didn't
saying.
know that
Like,
either. Yeah, it just
if,
proves your point.
Take Kyle Trask out of Florida, they a top 5 team. That's what you got to think about.
Especially when Kyle Trask's numbers, I don't know if you guys have seen the splits, are comparable to Joe Burrow's from last year.
From last year, that season. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hop back into the Big Ten before we talk about that Joe Burrow team a little bit more in a second here. But let's hop back into the Big Ten. Purdue, Indiana, that game is canceled in wake of COVID cases. So not only is Indiana told, and they're not going to make it to the Big Ten championship, they don't have a chance, but they don't even get to finish out their season with this Purdue game.
Their Big Ten season.
Their Big Ten season.
They'll get a bowl.
Excuse me. Yeah, that's right at the bowl eligibility.
And then also that championship weekend you said
Yeah, the
about they'll
championship
play.
weekend that they're going to be playing in.
Possibly, yeah. But both schools
Be interesting to
reportedly
see if
agreed.
Michigan plays in that.
Oh my goodness, you're right. That would be interesting. Why though?
Yeah.
No,
At
maybe,
that point,
maybe they
be
want
like-
to come out and prove themselves, but they
Yeah.
didn't want to against Ohio State.
Who cares?
Both schools reportedly, Purdue and Indiana, agreed to cancel the game mutually as rises in cases occurred in not one but both programs. And this is something that I was reading online. They play for what's called the Old Oaken Bucket, which has been awarded since 1925, almost 100 years in a row. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Never.
Now, granted,
it's not that
Indiana
big
versus
rivalry.
Purdue. Yeah, Indiana versus Purdue.
I love the Indiana versus Purdue basketball rivalry.
There you go.
You know, when
I will say,
was going at it with Zeller.
If you guys get a chance listening or watching the podcast, if you get a chance to look up the old Oaken Bucket, one of the dopest college rivalry trophies I've ever seen. It's super sweet. Yeah, Hunter, check that out.
What's your favorite one?
While we continue to talk.
I mean, I like the little mug, Minnesota.
I thought you were gonna say Miners Cup just for a little flex or whatever.
Oh,
D1.
10 straight. Ouch. If you guys don't know what that means, look up Miners Cup and look where it's been for 10 years straight.
Stuttering there, bud.
Hey, 10 years.
All right,
10 straight.
Drew mentioned it a few minutes ago. Joe Burrow and that LSU team.
Wait, hang on. I did want to say something about Indiana.
Go ahead.
Think about it like this. You know how you're kind of,
10 straight.
Okay. Gosh. You know how you're kind of saying how Indiana kind of feel bad for them a little bit.
Oh, I definitely do. I feel for them.
Ohio State. Yeah, they're like the bad guy in every movie. Like
they are. They are.
You don't want to root for them. But sometimes you do.
They're good. Yeah.
It's one of those things where if Ohio State didn't get to play. They didn't get to go to the Big Ten championship. How do you look and say to those kids, you did everything you were supposed to do, and you still didn't get those opportunities? So I feel like I would have felt more.
Especially for their head coach, who's an awesome guy.
Yeah.
That's got to be just.
I would have felt bad for Ohio State if they really just didn't get.
That's a cool
trophy. There's a trophy. Is that it right there?
I'll show it to the.
Yeah. Turn that thing around for those watching. But I don't know how well they're going to see that. But hey, it's worth a shot. That is a dope trophy, isn't it?
Yeah. For sure.
That is dope. But LSU, let's talk about the Tigers. They self-impose a bowl game ban for the 2020 season. The decision comes in cooperation with an NCAA investigation that discovered booster payments towards some of the athletes for the Tigers football team
from last year
that were coming off of an undefeated championship run last year.
Odell, what up, my man?
Yeah. Booster. Athletic and academic
booster. And this is why Jarvis Landry is my favorite receiver, because he was responsibly not handing out money.
And he didn't assault a police officer during the celebration.
No, he did not.
Jesus. But, I mean, that's a huge, you could say, a self-imposed bowl game ban when they're, 3-5. But right now, the bowl game requirements, no, think about it. The requirements for the bowl games have been waived this year due to not, everyone doesn't have the same schedule, the same amount of games. So basically, just about everyone is eligible for some type of bowl game this year. So LSU, believe it or not, would have actually probably been in some type of bowl game.
There's a limited type or amount of bowls.
There are, but bowl eligibility is waived. So there's a chance that they'd be eligible for a bowl.
So who picks that?
Pretty much.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Who picks that?
The individual bowl. No, the individual bowl game committees. So for what's a not Outback Bowl, right? Yep. The Outback Bowl is given.
Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl.
Yeah, the Outback Bowl is given the Big Ten and the SEC. I'm pretty sure every year. So they would just pick two teams.
Like the Quicken Loans Bowl. It's always MAC, Big Ten, right?
MAC and ACC.
I have no idea.
ACC
is one of them.
Yeah. Anyway,
and so they just get to pick now. So for instance, a big name like LSU, a big name like Michigan,
they might like.
People are going to be like, "Whoa, LSU versus Michigan. We could sell some T-shirts."
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So
Quicken Loans Bowl.
Yeah, we could sell.
That's in Detroit, right? That's in Detroit.
Yeah, that's in Fort Field.
Okay, yeah,
no, Governor Whitmer will not allow that.
Oh, that is very true. That is a good point.
Let's not talk about that.
But we'll finish off here on our LSU talk. Will this stain the national championship squad's legacy from that 2019 season under Joe Burrow?
No.
I would agree. Because I don't think people are making
college football teams.
I was just about to say
people are not making a very big deal out of it right now, and I almost think some of that is because it's expected at this point that some of that stuff goes on.
It wasn't Jerry Sandusky, doing anything.
Okay, jeez.
Well, I mean, no, that's what something like that.
Yeah.
When it's that serious,
that's something that's going to stain the record.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Will get talked about that for forever.
Yeah,
Michigan State will get talked about Larry Nassar for forever.
That's a very good point.
But nobody's gonna be like, "Oh, you remember when OBJ handed Justin Jefferson a grand?"
I wonder if we'll ever figure out.
I think it was like
I was gonna say it'd be more than
whatever.
Yeah,
but anyway, it was a lot of money.
Yeah. But I mean, we're talking a lot more money than just whatever he handed out in the locker room. I'm assuming for those recruits and those guys who were on that team. But that'll be all we have about the college football today until we finish up the podcast with some picks for some college and NFL games. So stick around. But first, let's get right into some NFL talk. We are back on one of the NFL's best running backs, even though Chambers may disagree. He's the only running back right now, I believe, with a 99 overall rating in Madden, although Adams is...
Aaron
Jones, right?
No,
Aaron
it's
Jones.
Dalvin Cook's at 96.
No. I thought you said Aaron Jones is at 98 now.
Devontae Adams.
Oh, Devontae Adams. Why do I get those two? I don't get those mixed up.
Kelsey just went.
Yeah, I get them mixed up.
Good for Kelsey.
Kelsey is.
Kelsey is.
He's the man.
Kelsey's a
dude. I was listening to Bussin' with the Boys. You listen to that? That's
Taylor Lewan
and Will Compton.
Great pod.
Great pod. He was on there.
No bad days.
Shooting the shit with them. But NFL, Christain McCaffery can't catch a break. The Panthers running back was limited in this week's practices and is still experiencing pain in the shoulder that had kept him sidelined for the past few weeks. But in addition to that, it was reported that he hurt his quad, not at practice, but while he was working out on his own while he's away from the team. First of all, I'll say he was experiencing tightness during practice, and his appearance against the Broncos on Sunday is very much still up in the air for Carolina. But before you go, why was he away from the team? I understand that he was injured. Is that a COVID thing? It was a bye week. Oh, okay, good point. Okay, I did not know that.
Okay, first off, I don't think he should play the rest of the year. The Panthers are
4-8. Why risk it? Why would he?
Don't say that.
But he's a huge part of that.
About your fantasy team, it's football. Jeez, shut up.
Bro,
anyway,
this is still football.
Whatever. Anyway, they're 4-8. Why risk? Like, I think he's overrated, but he is their lead back.
Especially with how much promise that program, that franchise has moving forward.
Especially
next year,
when McCaffrey's back, they're going to be a good football team next year.
They were already a decent football team. Exactly. They lost a lot of close games this year.
Yeah. So I say they put him on IR and just let him chill for the rest of the year, and just have him come back healthy as ever.
As a natural-born competitor in him, he's
going to want to come back.
100%.
He's probably been biting, like he's just been waiting to get back.
Like, for instance, when I was looking at what we were going to be talking about today, and I see Christain
15
McCaffery
minutes before the show
is, I called you yesterday, and that's where I'm getting at. And I see Christain McCaffery, hurt. I call Kobe. I'm like, what are you talking about? I literally just watched an interview of Christain McCaffery saying, I can't wait to get back on the field. Like, I've been itching at the bit, and I'm like, check my fantasy team, and goes, questionable McCaffrey, quad, and shoulder. I go, are you kidding me? I traded Devontae Adams for this guy.
Oh, that
hurts.
That one hurts.
Now we can understand the bitterness.
Then he dropped 27, and I'm like, oh, yeah, my team's
this is the deal, yeah.
And
then he goes out with the sprain first, the ankle sprain first.
So here's my thing. If I think McCaffrey's the best running back in football. I don't think you do.
No.
Who would you say, okay, since for me, I will say, where do you have McCaffrey, actually, before we get to this?
I would say, I remember we went through that top 3 last time, and I would say he's probably 3rd.
Okay, so who do you have above him, and who do you have above him? And I'll say who I have the 2 below him.
Okay, I would go as of right now.
No injuries.
And
no injuries off. Everybody's as healthy as they can be.
Yes.
Henry, Cook, Kamara, McCaffrey.
Cook up there?
Henry, Cook, Kamara, Jones, McCaffrey.
Just
switch it up. I like Aaron Jones a lot. I don't think they feed him enough because they have Jamal Williams is also a great back. So
I'd have to go.
But if Aaron Jones is
Adrian
like
Peterson,
okay, carry on.
I'm kidding. No,
carry on.
No, but I would say McCaffrey's in my top 3. I don't know. I just don't. That's a good question. And I think you have to.
Derrick Henry
I haven't
is
seen him healthy in so long.
The best running back in football.
Christain McCaffrey is the best running back in football.
If we are talking the straight running back, you handing the ball off behind him. Yeah, Derrick Henry is the best back in football.
Let's talk who we don't want to tackle.
Hold on a sec. Nick Chubb is top 5 in rushing and missed 4.5 games.
Oh, Nick Chubb. Yeah, throw out Aaron Jones. Throwing Nick Chubb at my
And Nick Chubb just outran Derrick Henry in the same game.
Okay, once again, we're talking about this season.
I know. And Nick Chubb also was 2nd in the league in rushing last year.
Who's first in the league right now?
True.
Who's first in the league last year?
Okay. Do you know how many yards?
Case and point.
But as for me, I see Derrick Henry, after watching that Browns game as well, when they're in passing situation, he becomes an afterthought. When you were down, he becomes an afterthought.
At times, not
Chubb
all
can
times.
Chubb has made big, screens. He's, his first year, remember
that guy.
Huh?
Hunt's that guy throwing screens.
True.
In the backfield.
That's a good
Chubb's
point.
also making those plays. So I just think Nick Chubb is undervalued, especially when
Chubb is undervalued, 100%.
Take that too, though, and flip it around and say that what if there wasn't Hunt and really 100% of that focus was on Chubb and he could develop in those areas?
His first year he did. He was really good.
That's another good perspective that you could take on that.
True.
But the two-headed monsters were.
I would say if we were basing it on who we would not want to tackle,
Chubb and Henry are 1 and 2.
You put Chubb at
No, I just said that. Just Henry is 1.
Okay, yeah.
Chubb is 2.
I would. That's what you call it.
I would not.
That is a business decision. That is a straight up.
And honestly,
business decision.
Kareem Hunt might be 3 because have you seen his legs? They are just all three of those guys are just
Saquon. We forgot about Saquon. If
everybody's healthy, he's there.
Yeah, true.
That's it.
True. He's going to come back, have a huge season.
I hope
he really does.
Especially
so many guys.
This Giants team looking up. Imagine they add him into the mix.
Oh, exactly. But finishing off here on Christain McCaffery, before we talk about that,
I never got your top 5. Give me your running back.
I have McCaffrey 1. Derrick Henry, I'd probably put 2. I think Chubb's 3, and I think from a talent perspective, I put Saquon 4, and Dalvin Cook 5. Kamara 6.
Cook. Yeah, Dalvin Cook's dropped off a little bit, but I do think from a talent standpoint,
Cook is just so. I don't know how you guys look at him like that.
I just think that
he's the best running back in football this year. Like with injury, like this season, he is the best running back.
Yeah, but for me, he usually doesn't make it a full year without missing a couple of games. Usually, McCaffrey's been very healthy. He hadn't missed. I don't think he'd missed a game until this year.
Really?
Or something
I think that's true.
And Derrick Henry's obviously a workhorse, and Chubb has been a workhorse, and he hasn't missed a game until this year as well. But, I think Dalvin Cook's very quality running back, and I think he's definitely a more elusive back than maybe Derrick Henry and Chubb.
Derrick Henry is a run-in-your-face guy.
Yeah, those guys are going to run you over, where Dalvin's going to
He's got just enough finesse to, get around you and get to the outside. And obviously when he's in the open field, he has more than
watching
enough
Dalvin Cook play in person, I went to the Florida State-Michigan game in the Orange Bowl.
Dude,
he was awesome. He was awesome. So I do think Dalvin Cook's definitely top 5, and but I feel like the running backs and even the wide receivers, it's so easy to just rearrange them.
Yeah.
We're quarterbacks.
A lot of it is recency bias too.
Yeah.
Somebody comes off a great performance and you're like, man, he deserves to be top whatever.
Devontae Adams.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
also, you're talking about Nick Chubb. You're a Browns fan. I'm a Titans fan.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
Yeah, that just happens. You can't really avoid it. But back to the Panthers real quick before we move on to the NFC East here in a second. Like you said, the Panthers are 4-8 right now. What's the point of having McCaffrey in when you're not going to be playing meaningful football? Save him. Get that program turned around, because Matt Rule has already been giving so much credit for instilling that culture, even though they haven't been winning those close games. That's the next step they need to take as a franchise. But imagine what he could do with that team if he had the all-pro running back in the backfield. I'll just leave it at that. We'll move on to the NFC East here. You hinted at the Giants earlier, especially if they had Saquon. This conversation would either not be happening or it would be very different, because right now, Washington football team had that huge win over the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers, and the biggest win of the year for the Giants came last week too, coming Sunday over the Seahawks, who were 8-3 when they beat them. So huge win. Looking to have Daniel Jones back this week, depending on how the hamstring feels.
Yeah, they beat them with their backup.
That is
totally
unreal.
Forgot about that. They beat them with their backup.
That's why I don't think they're getting enough credit for that, because Daniel Jones was not even there.
I really think that game proved that COVID is a huge factor in this, because I think with the 12th man, there's no way Seattle loses that game.
That's a great point.
With the fans.
Yep.
That's a great point.
I would say, yeah, it's just playing in another stadium.
Yeah, at that point, it's like going to play pickup in a different basketball gym.
And that, too, we'll see how that plays in the playoffs. Yeah. You know what I mean? For
instance, the Browns having fans. That could make a difference.
Yeah.
Or Buffalo is not having fans. Could you imagine the hype
Bills Mafia?
If the Bills Mafia was at a home
playoff game? Dude.
Come on.
Unreal. And they're on pace for that right now.
They're going to clinch.
They're going to have a home playoff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that would be absolutely unreal. But in the NFC East, New York and Washington are tied on top of the division at 5-7. Sit on top of the division at 5. Type that right.
Oh, to be a Lions fan in that division.
Exactly. But the Giants have actually beaten Washington twice already this year. They have their number this year.
That's huge.
And their starting quarterback, Daniel Jones, is expected to play this week, according to ESPN's Jordan Raanan, coming off of a hamstring injury. I totally apologize if I butchered his name. Raanan, I don't know. But he reported that. And I think it's safe to say that Philadelphia and Dallas are out of the conversation. But do you think they still have a chance to somehow come out on top of this division?
Unless Jalen Hurts is crazy.
The man?
Is he? If he's the man, maybe. What are they sitting at 3-3?
That would make Peterson look so stupid.
Yeah, true.
If he came in and just carved up a bunch of teams in a row, oh my gosh. And smart. I mean, that'd be a GM smart, to pick him up at that time.
Anyway, I think Cowboys are out of it. Cowboys are
They got stomped by that. I don't know.
It was close.
You thought it was
it was 10.
I thought it was a pretty decisive win with the Ravens on Tuesday Night Football. Was that Tuesday night? Tuesday night?
Last night.
Yeah.
Oh, it was last night.
They got the ball.
No, it wasn't. It was Tuesday night.
Oh, yeah, because it's Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, it's Thursday.
It was Tuesday night. Yep, there you go.
Yeah, Tuesday night. Oh, this week zoomed by.
I know it did.
But I thought it was a pretty decisive win.
Mandalorian tomorrow. That's my Friday morning.
That's my Friday morning.
Anyway, back to the NFC East.
To have Lamar Jackson back, I think that's why it looked so decisive.
That was huge.
Because he came back and it looked like he didn't miss a stride.
He looked like his MVP
running the ball.
last night.
You can't throw.
Hey. Trace McSorley.
Knock on wood.
Trace McSorley is in their back pocket, though. Yeah, don't be talking. Don't be talking until he comes in.
I'm not going to lie.
There's a good segue right into our next piece here. Drew and I are going to be heading down to Cleveland. Hunter, we gonna see you there? Or we're heading down to Cleveland in the dog pound to see the Browns.
I'm pretty sure they just invited me on this podcast to make fun of me guys. Literally. They hang out with me. They don't hang out with me.
Wait.
Whatever. I didn't even want to go to the dog pound. What is the dog pound? Let's skip this segment. Whatever. Talk, Kobe.
The Browns are hosting the Ravens in a matchup on Monday night, and this game has some huge implications for
Ravens
Cleveland.
by 40.
Most notably for Cleveland.
Right.
Let me give my little spiel here, and then I'll let you go on your tangent. Yeah. But Cleveland has already secured their first winning season since 2007, right? And for a franchise that has seen some lows like the Lions, this is something
of lows.
Yeah. Quite exactly, actually. But they are also on the brink of their first playoff berth in 18 years. So this game is going to be massive.
I believe this is the biggest Browns game in 18 years.
Oh, easily.
Because,
especially because you have the division rival.
That's what I like too. I haven't
a competitive division rival, and that's what's going to make it or break it. Well, I guess.
And the Ravens and Browns rivalry, because that's just like heated. Right there.
Yeah. I mean, we saw what an emotional game like that did against the Steelers, even without Lamar Jackson, and how close that game was. And really, the Ravens had multiple chances to come out on top of that. Right before halftime was a great example of that. We talked about
Luke Wilson dropped that pass. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I think he caught it for a split second, but I think more of the credit should go to Minkah Fitzpatrick, who made a great play and hit that ball out of his hands in the back of the end zone. So, for your sake, I hope the Browns, because actually, before I say that, I will say Baltimore is actually favored in this game. Did you know that?
Well,
it's the Browns.
I love
it is, but when you look at records, and especially off their performance last week against the Titans,
when is it going to be? Oh, it's the Browns. When is that not going to be a thing anymore?
When they win this game.
When they win this game, or when they make the playoffs.
That's gone. Yeah. They will. They'll do both if they win.
Because like the Lions, it's like it's the Lions.
Yeah.
It's the Jets.
Yeah.
It's always it's the Browns.
Here's a question I have. To go off with what Hunter was saying, because now we're talking AFC North.
Yeah.
If you were the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are you more frightened of? The Browns or the Ravens?
Question.
Browns.
That's a good question.
As of right now, Browns. Which don't they play them soon?
They have played them week 17 at home.
Wow.
Okay. That's a big game.
In Pittsburgh, you said?
No, at home.
Oh, okay. Dog pound.
And imagine if Pittsburgh goes on this losing streak and that's their division.
Well, I saw the only way if Pittsburgh wins one more game,
they clinch.
They clinch.
Okay.
Yeah. But they would need to lose to the Bengals, so they'll eventually
clinch.
No
more Joey B to save them.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I'd love Joe Burrow.
But before we kind of wrap up this topic, I want to say we're just kind of just still getting into it. But Baltimore is coming off of a 3-game losing streak before that win against Dallas on Tuesday Night Football, which was
ugly 3-game losing streak.
It was a much needed bounce back for them. I think we can say, and their record before that was looking good, but now they sit at
7-5.
7-5.
Who are we looking
it
for?
might even be worse than that. I'm not sure.
Ravens are 7-5.
They are 7-5. Okay. Yeah,
Steelers
but
11-1.
with Lamar Jackson back, not only that, J.K. Dobbins is back off the COVID reserve list and seemingly back to playing great football. He looked good in that Dallas
win.
So
did Gus Edwards.
Gus Edwards had a game too.
Gus Edwards. The thing about it, Gus had
used him very weird.
He had like 3 big runs and he only had like 5 carries. So he had like the same amount of rushing yards as J.K., but J.K. had like 15 carries.
A much higher workload.
Gus before Mark Ingram.
Poor Mark
J.K.
Ingram.
got there.
Yeah.
Gus was good. Ingram. Yeah, I do feel bad.
He's a dog.
He's a dog.
But he's just getting old and he has
Big
2
Trust.
young guys.
Yeah. He had 1,000 yards last year, and he's not going to crack 500 this year.
Wow. Has he scored a touchdown this year?
Yeah, he did last year.
I'm sure he has.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, poor Mark Ingram. I think he's
Dobbins and Edwards are definitely taking the majority of the carries there.
Younger guys, get them ready for get them ready.
That's a really good point. But Dobbins being back, I think, is huge for them, especially with the type of offense they run.
Yeah.
If it were, some other team, like, hey, if the Chiefs are missing a running back, okay.
They got
and They do have Le'Veon.
Clyde didn't even play last week. That's perfect example.
Really?
He was sick.
Yeah. But they still, nobody cares. Next guy up.
Do we see the Ravens making the playoffs this year?
If they lose this game, I don't see them.
There's no chance.
I feel like this is a bigger game for the Ravens than it is the Browns. Because the Ravens need this game.
Yeah.
The Browns, if they lose this game, can still beat the Jets and the Giants.
They will have let down their fan base again for the umpteenth time.
No, it would well, next week, they just flexed the Browns-Giants game. Sunday night next week.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it making the playoffs. Miami, Browns, Colts. So those are going to be the 3 wild cards.
Vegas got a shot, too.
No, I don't like Vegas.
Vegas and the Colts
like
play.
That Browns-Giants game could be big. The Giants have the Cardinals this weekend.
Yes.
Right? And honestly, I could see that game going either way. If Daniel Jones is there, that game could go either way.
Yeah.
I 100%
and with the way
believe
Kyler's
that.
playing.
Exactly. How inconsistent that Cardinals team has been. They've won some big games. They've lost some big games.
If they didn't win the Hail Murray is what they're calling it.
The Hail Murray. That's 6 games in a row they would have lost.
6 games in a row they would have
lost.
Literally,
that's the only reason they won that game was that Hail Murray. And it's not like it was a great
I did not know
game
it would
by
have been
Kyler
6.
Either. Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, K1 for MVP. Yeah, okay, get out of here.
Yeah.
Hey,
no.
I'm still a Sooner. Come on, man. Okay, well.
Sorry.
But I will say, the Giants, that game's anybody's. Like, there's no penciling in Arizona for that one.
And honestly, this is a big game for the Browns, too, just because if the Browns do lose this game, the Giants game is going to be it's not a trap game because the Giants are still a good football team.
But it's going to be so much
crucial.
Yeah.
And because, and because the Giants, guess who's on their staff? Fat Freddie Kitchens.
Freddie Kitchens is? I didn't know that.
And you know what would have been cool, too? Think about Odell going back.
Bro, are you going to sneeze?
Think about Odell going back to New York. That would have been sweet.
Oh, that would have been cool. That would have been another cool
So
storyline.
going into that game, let's go into this weekend's picks. College football coming up. Kobe, what do we got first game?
College football, we have North Carolina versus Miami. What are we thinking, fellas?
I want to say Miami's going to win this one because Carolina's looked bad this year at some points, and I don't know.
I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to go with North Carolina because their offense and their defense has not shown up in some big-time games, and I think that is the reason why they have the record that they do have currently. I think their offense steps up for them in this one.
Miami's sitting at 10 and
North Carolina's at like
15.
Yeah,
okay.
My brother would kill me if I went with the Hurricanes.
Yeah.
And I honestly, my heart tells me to go with the Tar Heels because Sam Howell's a dog. He should be a first-round pick, not this year, but next year.
Pencil it in.
Carolina with the dub.
Gentlemen, next pick, Michigan State Spartans, who are rocking the new, I think the Gruff, what is it?
Spartans Gruff.
The Gruff Spartans helmets. That's a big-time factor. They're playing Penn State, who has been notoriously bad. Michigan State, Mel Tucker, and the boys are getting it done.
So, you picking MSU?
That would be that's what that.
And you're picking MSU?
Yeah.
So let's go. Yeah. I'm 2-0. Only guy 2-0, and you haven't won a game.
We haven't even done any game picks.
Last week we did.
We can keep track.
Start keeping track.
We'll get a counter.
2-0, you're 0-2, and
we're all 0-0 here.
Oh, come on.
We're
all 0-0.
Penn State gets the dub. James Franklin came to my last high school game. I have to go with him. He came on a helicopter.
Yeah, how'd that work out for you?
And he wasn't scouting you.
Nope. Because that's why I'm a D1 reject.
Plug it.
All right.
D1 underscore.
You had fun putting this one in there, didn't you?
Oh.
Oklahoma versus Iowa State. And we did say it earlier in the pod.
I should put that in during this pod.
Oh, you did put that in.
Is that this week?
That'd be next
No,
week,
because Oklahoma just canceled with West Virginia.
Yes, that's not
so that's next
Scratch
week.
it.
Scratch it.
Chambers' fault.
It. So we had the 3 picks there. We'll get a tally going for next week. We'll come back and look at our records.
Did we do the third one?
Yeah, we did. Oh, wait, no, we did not. That's my bad. USC, UCLA.
Come on, boys. You already know where
Rivalry.
Yeah.
Rivalry.
Fight on.
USC.
I'm going fight on as well.
Fight on. Coach Doug's.
Fight on.
Trojans.
Are they 3 or 4-0 now?
Trojans by 2 scores.
4-0?
Yeah.
Trojans
Chip Kelly, though, is kind of turning around.
Trojans by 2 scores.
Yeah. But fight on.
I'll take them by at least 2 scores.
Yeah.
I'd put money on it.
USC.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not a betting man.
All
I
USC.
legally cannot be, but
USC.
All USC.
Don't let us down, USC.
that's a wipe. All right. NFL side of things. We ready for this?
Yep.
Lions versus Packers. What are we thinking?
We know Kobe's going with the home team.
I
Kobe
am
starts off.
going to be taking the Packers on this one.
Smart man.
See, I would never bet against the team that I root for, but I sure.
So
as hell
he's
would
not
pick against
Desmond
them.
Howard, where it's like no matter what, Desmond's taking Michigan.
No, I am not. I acknowledge the fact that
Except
especially
Desmond did pick against Michigan this year.
Even though
with Wisconsin,
he did. I noticed that. But even though Adrian Peterson did come out today and said the Lions are back to having fun.
Yeah.
it's going to take a lot more than having fun to beat the Packers right now.
They're back. Lions win this game by a field goal. Matt Prater ends it at Ford Field.
Dude.
At Ford Field, they win this game in a field goal.
Drunk Matt
Belleville
Prater
is going to be. Belleville is going to
explode.
have those guys' hair on fire, and they're going to come out and win this game.
Bevel.
I said Bevel.
Belleville. Packers win.
Belleville, don't care. Packers
Don't care.
get a dub.
Hair on fire. Matt Prater will win us this game.
Yeah, and I was
Swift 100 yards rushing.
Is he even going to play?
He is questionable.
Swift 100 yards
He is
rushing.
questionable, and Carrion, I believe, too, is not going to be.
AP turns the clock, but it's not enough.
Aaron Jones is on my fantasy team, so him 100 yards rushing too.
Okay, good.
But-
Just sneak that in there at the end. That's good. Next game up on the docket, Chiefs, Dolphins. This, I
Great
think,
game.
is going to be
Great
a very
game.
interesting one. Yeah, great one.
How do you pick this one?
Who are
How do you
picking,
pick
bud?
this one?
Who are you picking?
Bro, I told myself I'm never picking against the Chiefs, no matter if the Browns were playing them or everyone got together in an all-star team.
Yeah.
I'm still picking the Chiefs. Even though
I thought you were going to be like, but.
I was waiting for it, too.
Not
I'm
so
not gonna
fast.
lie. Go ahead, Hunter.
You know what? Give me the hat. I'm picking Tua over this Chiefs. Oh, my
You're taking them?
Yeah, I'll take them.
You're going to take the
I'm
Dolphins?
Sunday Night Football, correct?
No, Sunday night's Bills, Steelers.
I'll take the Chiefs.
Okay.
Really?
I'll take the Chiefs.
Brian
Edwards Helaire back.
Brian
I'll
Flores
take
is
it.
going to
Brian
I'm gonna
Flores will
have
get
to
those
agree.
guys pumped up.
I say the
but
Chiefs win.
In primetime, I would have took Tua.
Chiefs by 10.
I was
Chiefs
just
by
going to
10.
say 10.
Chiefs by 10.
I think
Chiefs will win.
a 24-14 game.
Dolphins
What
make
is
it
up with
interesting.
those Chiefs?
I'm also going to say, I
don't.
don't know if it'll be 24-14, but I say they keep the Chiefs to 30 points or less.
Yeah, I'm not sold on Tua yet. He needs to beat a good team.
Agreed. Did you see that catch from his tight end, though? A white tight end at that number
Gesicki?
one. Number one on SportsCenter. Absolutely unbelievable. If you haven't seen that, check it out. It was an insane one-handed grab. But Chiefs versus Dolphins, that's we all Chiefs are all Kansas
Chiefs,
City.
yeah.
Next up, Cardinals, Giants.
I feel like Kobe's leaning Giants.
Yeah, this is very, very much dependent on if Daniel Jones is there. It's my contingency. If Daniel Jones is there, I'm taking the Giants.
Okay.
That's my pick for sure.
K1, I can't pick against you. Sooners, I got to rep. K1 and the Cards, they turn it around this week.
Word.
I'll take G-Men.
All right. Gosh.
Okay.
I'm on my island.
49ers versus a football team.
I
Just
love
one
this
of them.
game.
This is
I
a
love
great,
this game.
great
I
game.
love this game.
Ron Rivera.
49ers.
Really?
What's the quarterback for the 49ers? Mullins?
Nick Mullins.
I think he's quietly like top 5 in the league for passing.
Really?
Stop. He's not.
Dude,
They run the ball only.
I wanted to say no. It wasn't passing yards. It was some weird.
Rating.
It was some weird
Rating,
stat.
I think, or
Was it rating?
One of those,
Because they throw like 20
one
times
of those,
a game.
I don't know.
one of those
Either way.
stats where it doesn't really matter.
Most certain the line, they get it done. I don't. That's going to be a good matchup with Washington's front 4/front 7 or whatever. I'm still taking the 49ers.
I'll take Smith
In a revenge
and
game.
my boy Logan
That's
and
true.
my boy,
Good point.
especially if Gibson's healthy, I think they run with this game. But
Antonio Gibson, right?
Yep. Antonio Gibson, if he's
Chambers.
healthy, I think Smith and like my Tuesday eye catcher, Logan Thomas, is going to have a big day.
Okay.
I'll say by 7. By touchdown the win.
I got the Washington football team beaten up on the 49ers.
Beaten
I
up.
don't think this one's going to be that close. I think the 49ers are coming off a relatively not close, like heartbreaker, but one of those games where they balled. They
thought they were gonna win.
thought they
Yeah,
were
they balled out.
They thought they were in
Yeah.
there.
Agreed.
And the Washington football team's on the highest of highs right now. Could be a trap game for them, but I think they win.
All right. You said Sunday Night Football, Steelers versus Bills.
Yes.
I'm going to start us off right now. Bills Nation. I'm
I
taking
think
them.
this might be a clean sweep if Chambers puts it through. I'm going Bills big.
Bills Mafia.
Yep.
I say
Steelers
two
are down.
scores.
Steelers are
I
down
say
bad.
two
Oh.
scores.
They're down bad.
Down bad.
They're down bad, and Josh Allen played great.
Josh
on
Allen
Monday
had
night,
the
so-
game of his young career last week.
Yes.
He really
Played
did.
great.
Talk about a heartbreaker, though.
Speaking about a quarterback who played the game of his, career last week,
Why are you smiling like
goes into our next game.
that? Oh, look at that. Ravens versus Browns.
And the one everybody's waiting for. Drew,
Ravens, Browns.
Drew, just start us off. Just start
Go
us
ahead,
off.
please.
Because you're going to go.
It's one of those things where I think the Ravens, I don't know. Baker has beaten the Ravens his first year. He beat him his second year.
This sounds
He
like a
will beat
Lee
him his
Corso
third
pick.
year. Baker beats him 10-3 Browns. I'll be there celebrating in the dog pound. Be a special night to be in Cleveland.
It sounded like a Lee Corso pick the way you started that with like the past,
I hope
the
so,
relevance.
then,
Yeah,
that's nice.
Hey, I mean, it's a good company. It's good company to be in.
Good
Hunter?
TV too.
Good TV. Good pod.
Simple enough. I'll go Browns. Lamar Jackson cannot throw the ball, and their defense with Myles Garrett is
not bad for a running back.
Yeah, I did a little running back thing for y'all listening.
He's been a little bad ever since, I don't know, this season. So he's been because of COVID.
I wouldn't say
the
bad.
Browns.
I wouldn't say bad. I'd say he's out of rhythm, and for that reason, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go Browns.
Clean,
but I also
sweet.
say
I see clean.
close
game,
yeah.
super close game.
I say Browns are down at half.
Hey,
also, what's the weather like? What's going to be the weather like? Oh, yeah, Browns. Easy.
I say Browns are down at half. I really do. I don't think they get off to the
30 or 40%.
Shout out PMT. Cleveland weather. Cleveland's winning.
Yeah. It was a 40% chance of snow, 40 degrees or something like that.
They love it.
I really do think they start off.
This is where Chubb and Hunt,
20 plus carries.
Baker with the play action, Jarvis coming up with big catches. That's why I see it.
Interesting. I think a lot of
fun to watch.
A lot of that Browns
rushing
on
my TV.
A lot of that Browns rushing game in the first half. They go in, make some adjustments. Browns play action.
Stefanski.
I say Browns are going to have 2 or 3 plays that are going to decide that game, and if they hit on those plays, they're going to win. So I'm going to take
Stefanski, Coach of the Year.
Wow.
I mean, turn around. That's the hardest job in the world, probably, to turn around the Browns.
I guess that's true. And we talked about the change of like a mindset for them rather than get it. What did you just do?
I got to chill.
Wow. Holy, that was kind of scary.
I could feel that one.
Oh. And you know what else is scary? That someone's actually listening to the end of the podcast.
You guys made it to the end of the podcast.
They made it all the way to the pod.
I'll say my usual thing. You know what? Congratulations. Go make some chicken noodle soup because you deserve it, and you enjoy that. Watch The Mandalorian tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I hope you watch this podcast.
First podcast where all 3 of us have hats on. I think that's a big milestone for us. Mark it.
So
we're going to come back next week with the game picks, and we'll start getting a tally going, I think.
How about this?
We should have a punishment for who does the worst. Can we decide that while we're live here?
We should do eventually.
While we're live, yeah.
Yeah, let's go.
Right now?
Think. Go ahead.
Well, I got a thing for you.
Go ahead. First.
Does Dez Bryant play again this year?
No, he's gone. He's sipping wine. He out.
Did you see he tested negative 2 times in a row after that?
After the revenge game, which was awesome.
Brutal. I would have loved to see that. They dragged him off the field.
He's pissed.
Dragged him off the field. But any ideas for punishments? If not, we can just come back next week.
We'll come back next week, 100%.
Yeah.
Hey, if you guys got anything, leave them in the comments.
Oh,
yeah. Or shoot us up in D1_rejects in our DMs and just
Twitter,
let us know.
Yeah. Slide into those.
Slide in those.
Yeah. For sure.
Great episode.
Yeah. Thank you all for listening / watching. Let me know what you think of the new helmet and my craftsmanship here. Otherwise, that's all we've got for this episode. We'll be back at it next week with a recap of all these great games that we just talked about.
Hopefully, let's get it.
Hopefully, a great punishment for one of us that doesn't know how to pick games.
By the end of the year or this week?
Every week. It should be
a
tiny
punishment every week?
It should be a little.
Every week. No, I'm thinking
the end of the year.
No, we can do a big one, but I think it'll be funny. Just like a little
lead
something.
dog, because I know I'm going to be the lead dog because I picked the Lions. And
Word.
We'll end it with that.
Thank you for listening to Division I Rejects. I'll catch you next week.